The beating heart of Disney's Animal Kingdom is the magnificent Tree of Life, located at the very center of Discovery Island. The tree stands tall at 145 feet, and there are over 300 animals carved into the tree, from the roots all the way up to the branches. As many of you know, the tree is also home to the 3D film It's Tough to Be a Bug. But what many visitors to this park seem to forget is that down at the base of the tree, there are dozens of animals to see. This is just a taste of the hundreds of animals guests can encounter at Disney's Animal Kingdom, so it's a perfect introduction to the park. And today, I'm going to give you a quick guided tour of the Discovery Island trails here at Animal Kingdom. Once you've entered the park and taken a first look at the Tree of Life, head towards your left for the first animal encounter here in Discovery Island. And if any of you are budding wilderness explorers, make sure you have your guides handy because you can receive your first explorer badge by the Flamingo Pool. There are 6 different species of flamingos in the world, and this is a group of lesser flamingos. The lesser flamingo is the smallest in size of the 6 and can be found in various regions throughout Africa. These birds have very small webbed feet and long, thin legs that measure about 12 inches or so. And as you can see here, flamingos have the ability to stand on just one of those thin legs when resting out in the sun. It is incredible to think such fragile, needle-thin legs can balance their entire bodies. But in reality, lesser flamingos such as these only weigh between 2 and 6 pounds, so I guess it's not too hard. But still, these yoga poses are pretty impressive to me. Now, lesser flamingos like to live near pools of water because they feed off of algae, believe it or not. When a flamingo is first born, its feathers are actually a light gray color. As they grow and sip from these pools of water that is full of algae, they are actually digesting keratin. This is a natural chemical found in the water that contains a reddish pigment inside. As the flamingos drink, their digestive system extracts the pigment from the keratin and it dissolves into fats. And then finally, those fats grow into a set of beautiful new pink feathers. Aside from water, flamingos also eat small crustaceans like shrimp and mollusks. And these bottom-feeding creatures also contain keratin inside. So nearly everything that flamingos consume contains this unique chemical. And depending on the amount they consume will usually determine how pink or even red the flamingos will end up. I also love how these birds use their beaks to drink water. You'll notice that the flamingos use their long and flexible necks to scoop up water into the top half of their beak. Then they arch back and toss that water down their throats. Such beautiful movement for such a simple task. A group of flamingos is actually referred to as a flamboyance. And even though these elegant birds may look regal, they can also be a little bit catty with each other. There's always one picking a fight somewhere. And they've got some pretty interesting personalities too. Since they live in such large groups, it's important to make sure you stick out in the crowd. Those pink feathers I mentioned play a crucial part when flamingos try and find a mate. The more pink a flamingo's feathers are, the more it shows that he or she is good at finding food. So this is one case where brighter is definitely better. But sometimes it's not about finding a mate, but trying to get rid of the competition. Those flexible necks I mentioned can also be used to intimidate each other. I think this guy doesn't like his neighbor intruding on his personal space. And it looks like everyone is picking a fight today. Now these guys have some pretty pink feathers, but if a flamingo is still a little gray and wants to try and impress a mate, they can also use some of their dance moves. It's not uncommon to find a group of flamingos gliding across the water in perfect synchronization, just to show off their talents a little. And if that doesn't seem to do the job, ruffling those pretty feathers doesn't hurt either. The lesser flamingos' population number is pretty high, but research is showing that their numbers are on a decline. The lesser flamingo is classified as near threatened, and disturbances in their habitats can drive those numbers to dangerously low levels. Pollution in the pools of water they live in poses as a serious threat to their existence. But organizations such as the Disney Conservation Fund are working hard to protect these environments, to keep their numbers at a nice healthy level. But this guy just can't catch a break today. And nearby is another bird, but unlike the colorful flamingos, these winged creatures are much more intimidating. This is a Lappet-Faced vulture. It is an old world vulture found mainly in Africa. And these guys are big. This particular species is one of the largest vultures in the world. Their wings can spread out to be somewhere between 8 and 9 feet wide. Their feathers tend to be a dark brown or even black color, and underneath their thighs are usually covered in white feathers. But the most recognizable physical trait is their bald head, which is often a deep red or dull pink color. Unlike the flamingos and other notable birds, these vultures tend to live in smaller numbers. It's often a lonely, solitary life for this specific species of vultures, and that's because they are feared by many. These scavengers are among the strongest in the vulture family. In fact, they eat more meat than almost any other predator in their ecosystem. When they are not searching for food, they are known to search for sticks to build huge, well-structured nests. These nests are sometimes lined with grass, leaves, and even animal hair and skin, which probably comes from the scraps of carcasses that they feed off of. Once built, the nest will often hold only 1 or 2 eggs, which both the male and female looks after for just under 2 months until the eggs hatch. Now, as repulsive and ugly these birds may seem, vultures are the fastest declining types of birds in the world. The biggest threat to their existence are humans themselves. Many vultures are poisoned by farmers who wrongfully accuse them for eating their cattle. And a more dangerous threat are poachers. Every year, an extraordinary number of vultures are killed and sold on black markets. They are specifically sold in the witch doctor trade. Some believe that some species of vultures will be extinct in just a few years. Now, around the corner, you'll find one of the many paths that circle and lead up to the Tree of Life. Unlike the other trails in the park, Discovery Island Trails weaves all around the hub, so you never know what animals you may encounter. There's even a path that cuts straight across the back of the island and is often a quick way to get from the bridge to Africa to the bridge into Asia. But today, we're going to take a closer look at some of the beautiful carvings on the Tree of Life instead. Now, some sections are being refurbished right now, so we're going to take a little detour to get a closer look of the tree. The Tree of Life not only serves as the park's icon, but it's a beautiful work of art. There are over 300 different types of animals painstakingly carved into the tree. Every time you visit, you will undoubtedly find another fun animal. From an eagle to a seahorse, and even a few bugs like the spider. These trails on Discovery Island can be a wonderful escape from the crowds, and I don't think there's a better way to enjoy the details and beauty of this park. But let's travel further down the path so we can meet just one more animal here in Discovery Island, one that I know a lot of you will love to see up close. This last furry friend is an adorable little creature that I didn't even know could be seen at Animal Kingdom until very recently. Now the sign here says that we can find some ring-tailed lemurs, but today we have a pair of red-collared brown lemurs instead. These medium-sized lemurs are just one of 12 different species. The red-collared lemur is only found on the southern tip of Madagascar, mainly in tropical forest. This little guy only weighs about 5 pounds, and they usually have an overall length of about 35 inches. And who can miss those piercing orange-colored eyes? While both the males and females have this distinct eye color, the males tend to have a little more gray in their brown coats, and their heads are a dark, almost black color, while the females have gray heads. These specific type of lemurs have very long tails. In fact, their tails are always longer than their bodies. And like their bodies, the color of the tails will shift from a brownish color down to a black. Collared lemurs live in large social groups with a mixture of both males and females. A group can be as small as 3, but sometimes reach 15 or 17. Study shows that they tend to live and socialize high up in the canopies, and they rarely travel down to the forest floor. So this is actually a rare sight to see these two roaming closer to the ground and out of the tree branches. A lemur's diet is mainly vegetarian. They like to eat fruit more than anything else and will sometimes munch on flowers and young leaves. Just like the fruit bats that I mentioned on the Maharaja Jungle Trek over in Asia, these creatures are important seed dispensers in the forest, and they help keep the vegetation alive. Scientists believe that these types of lemurs may in fact be the last remaining seed dispensers for the specific type of trees that grow in their environment. And while lemurs have been studied quite extensively, there are a few unanswered questions when it comes to these collared lemurs. Many other species of lemurs live in groups where the females almost always rule the troop. Collared lemurs, however, don't seem to have a clear hierarchy, with either the males or the females being dominant. So it's possible that these creatures don't experience a so-called battle of the sexes. Instead, they seem to happily coexist together in their tight groups. They are known to travel very cohesively together across the forest. Their home range can span anywhere between 17 and 50 acres. And because a clan's home range can overlap with another, there can be some hostility between the two groups, but it's often not too violent. And a lemur's life revolves around the season. Mating takes place in the early summer months of June and July. And after being pregnant for about 4 months, the females tend to give birth to a single offspring in the fall. So with that, my friends, we've come to the end of our tour of the Discovery Island trails here at Animal Kingdom. The next time you visit this park, make sure you make some time to experience at least a few of the animal exhibits in between the big attractions. And Discovery Island can be a very easy place to do that, because you can casually walk up to an animal habitat instead of traveling down longer paths like the trails in Africa and Asia. Thank you so much for watching today's tour, and stay tuned for this Sunday's main show, a complete in-depth look at Discovery Island. And until next time, remember, if you can dream it, you can do it.